Let me introduce myself. I'm Mary's sister. When I say Mary, yes, that Mary, the mother of Jesus. No one seems to want to know my name. They seem interested just to know that I'm Mary's sister. Mary and I were close growing up. We were close in age, and we played together, cooked together, cleaned the house together, learned together. We shared so much. Then one day, everything changed. It was as though overnight, she stopped talking with me. And then we found out that she was pregnant. Well, what was I to think? She had never talked about being with Joseph in that way. But the gossip was all over town. The way she withdrew made me suspect she hadn't been honest with me. But she'd always been such a good girl. She always seemed so devout and sensible, and she did things the right way. I would never have guessed about, well, you know. Although we could be mischievous at times, and we had a great laugh together. It was only much later that she shared her story with me. When she returned with Joseph and little Jesus, he was such a sweet and delightful child. I never knew a child could be so well behaved. And he asked such great questions to everyone. Mind you, he was as strong and as fast on his feet as the rest of them. When she returned, she started to share everything with me again. She told me about the angel. She even told me his name, Gabriel, which made it either so unbelievable or so very real. I tried to believe her. And she told me about the strange events that happened at his birth. The shepherds, and how she could smell them before they entered. And they must have told so many people, because after them there were so many visitors. Before the rich men. They said they'd followed a star, and they bought the strangest of gifts for a little boy. My sister often reflected on what Simeon had said when she and Joseph had presented Jesus as a baby at the temple. His words of praise. What he had meant when he said, "Sovereign Lord, as you have promised, you may now dismiss your servant in peace. For my eyes have seen your salvation, which you have prepared in the sight of all nations, a light for revelation to the Gentiles and the glory of your people Israel." And then his blessing, and the words Mary just can't forget. This child is destined to cause the falling and rising of many in Israel. And a sword will pierce your own soul too. And a sword will pierce your own soul too. And a sword will pierce your own soul too. We'd often talked about that together. Had Simeon meant the time Jesus was lost and left behind in Jerusalem? Or the time when a few of us from the family had stood outside for ages, waiting to see him. And he kept on teaching the people. And when he was told that his mother and family was waiting to see him, he said, whoever does the will of my Father in heaven is my brother and sister and mother. Ouch. That hurt. It went deep. And I kept close to Mary this past week, as she had experienced so much, from joy and hope, to pride and excitement, to confusion and despair. And now, this. Her son's death by crucifixion. Her world was falling apart. Her hope was freely flowing out of her sandals. As we had done in recent months, we'd followed Jesus everywhere this week. Although not into the Garden of Gethsemane, we weren't invited. That was for the boys. We followed him to Caiaphas' house and shivered through the long dark hours in the courtyard. We followed him to Pilate's house and we followed him to Herod's house and back again. We listened with horror as the crowd yelled, "Crucify! Crucify!" all around us. And we followed him here. Surely this can't be happening. Can't there be a better way? Is this how the story is meant to end? We held each other in grief, in a simple effort to stay upright. I discovered she'd been thinking exactly the same thing. I heard her whisper quietly to herself, "So this is what Simeon meant." At some point during that long and lonely vigil, the disciple whom Jesus loved quietly joined us. He just appeared at our side. He hadn't been there before, but he had joined us, almost unnoticed. But Jesus had noticed him. Jesus hadn't spoken during that long, agonizing time on the cross. But then he said to Mary, "Your son," and to the one he loved, "Your mother," looking first at one and then at the other. And then he took a long look at Mary, a look of pure love. And a sword will pierce your own soul.